Hey everybody, TacticAngel here. Not on the PlayStation 4. Actually, what we'll be doing today is taking a look at a replay that was sent to us meaning me, by Spartan Elite. Spartan Elite is, of course, another one of the World of Warships community contributors. If you are not familiar with his work somehow, then you can go ahead and find a link to his channel down in the description. I sent him a video as well, and hopefully he'll be telling me a little bit about how I don't play battleships right, and that's possible. He sent this video to me asking me to give him points on how to play an Iowa. And I don't know if you guys know who Spartan Elite is, but Spartan Elite plays the Iowa, and occasionally other ships also, but this is his favorite boat. I think that's pretty obvious if you're aware of his work. So when he asked me to provide some feedback for him, I thought, you know, a couple of things. Some of them like good, some of them not so good. So anyway, he's already getting shot at, and I've just barely gotten through the introduction, so we should probably move on with it, right? So we're going to be on Neighbors. I will go ahead and put Spartan's commander up on the screen. This is not surprising. He is a big fan of being able to shoot things accurately. And with him is actually, if you're a PlayStation person, I guess we can figure this out through context clues, but those names in the upper left-hand corner probably have something to do with people talking to each other. He is, in fact, in a division with the Hivehound, who also does make World of Warships Legends videos, and I have also put a link down in the description to his channel. I've seen some of his stuff. By and large, you know, not too bad. Not too bad.
Fighter airborne. Concentrate fire on the enemy warship.
In any case, what we're doing here is Spartan is rolling out to the south. I mean, you can criticize him if you want, in terms of if you want to roll out to the south, you do have to show that broadside at the beginning of the game. That's just kind of anteing up to playing World of Warships, in my opinion, which is, you know, you do put yourself a little bit in a vulnerable position in the first couple of minutes of the game. You could do a little bit more, like turn a little bit more out, which would allow you a little more angle, a little harder shot for the enemy to try to land, but, you know, by and large, it's not too big of a deal. As you can see, he didn't really pay for that in this case, and I think in most cases you're probably not going to really pay for it, not too heavily. Here we see just a ton of people waiting to poke around the end of this mountain. They're trying their very, very best to just center in on the Hivehound, and instead kind of not opening themselves up, unfortunately, to the terrible, terrible things that a high accuracy captain can do. Now, obviously, you see there's an Amagi out there. Spartan shells are going to be able to just barely clear that. Not really a lot of love from RNG. And somebody up there was paying attention. I mean, that's actually a really good job in terms of putting on the brakes, stopping when you notice that you are, you know, visible, changing speed and heading to avoid those torpedoes. In this case, it was just speed. Robbed again. We see Spartan puts a big broadside into the side of that hipper, but gets not a lot of love out of it, which is actually really, really surprising to me. He's kind of coming up with the kind of numbers that I would expect playing survivability builds, which Might make me feel a little bit better about my choices, because usually when somebody sends me a replay, they make me feel worse about my life. But in this case, you know, we do see him land a big hit on that Nelson. That's easily a shot that, you know, if you get lucky, if you go to church and pay your tithe, you are maybe going to delete that Nelson straight up. Now you see him actually switching to that Amagi in the back. It's an interesting choice. The Amagi is a little bit more broadside. A lot of people wouldn't make that choice just because the Nelson is kind of obscuring some of your view to it, but a real solid move in terms of actually picking out the target that is, you know, more vulnerable to what you can do to it. Because this Nelson is obviously trying to angle. Unfortunately, he's a little bit too close, where angling is not going to help him very much when you consider just how big and powerful these American guns are. And Spartan's closing in for the kill here. I imagine this is just a matter of time now. Rear turret fires. Managed to finish off that Nelson. You know, he's got a couple kills now. That's pretty good. The south is pretty definitely won. And here we see, obviously, rotating into the middle of the map. We're going to save everybody just a little bit of time. Speed this up a little bit. As you can see, there's nothing really down here in the south right now. All the remaining enemy ships are in the north, so charging out into the middle of the map, you know, it works. Definitely the easiest way to make sure that you do get into some sort of range. Now here you can see Spartan has a couple of choices. What he's shooting at is the Jean Bar. I assume that is because the Jean Bar is presenting the most delicious angle to him. Unfortunately, he doesn't come up with anything there. So, you know, it is what it is. It's nice to see that other folks miss their shots as well. You know, not a badly aimed shot there on the Jean Bar, but still didn't come up with anything. So he has some sort of special protection, I guess. Now we've got a New Orleans. Hard to say really where that New Orleans is going to end up, but obviously Spartan is thinking that the guy's going to try to run away. I was actually really surprised to see that that landed somewhat behind him. Now we have an Atlanta. Atlanta is actually kind of a tougher ship for the Iowa, in my opinion, just because there's not enough there to really stop the shells, and they just go straight in one side, not the other. Now, he does knock out one of the turrets, though, so I'm sure he will cry many salty tears with only 7 turrets left. Still trying to get in there. Obviously, he's got a teammate that's struggling off to our port side here. And that Atlanta did not do the wise thing and try to limit its vulnerability by turning hard or stopping behind the island. He's dead. That's just how it goes.
Enemy cruiser sunk. Attention, support that target.
Now it looks like Spartan is in a position where he's kind of still working on that Jean Bar. There is a Bismarck to his starboard side, and he's regulating his speed here. Nothing to complain about there. Obviously, this is going to help him maintain the best angle against both of them, because the closer he sails at this point, the more that both of them are going to have a good angle on him. If you did remember from earlier, Spartan is running with the engine mod, which, in my opinion, is probably one of the worst parts about World of Warships Legends, just because it lets you back up a little too quickly, in my opinion. But he didn't make the game, so it's not exactly his fault. I don't hate the player, hate the game. When he's backing up here, he's going to get up to just about 20 knots. That's going to allow him to use just the silly bow armor of the Iowa. Now he does get a nice shot into that Jean Bar, finishing off one of the turrets, basically having its potential damage and also making sure it can't use that pesky reload booster. Somewhere else, of course, his secondaries are doing a pretty decent job of supporting him. Lighting a fire is pretty nice, particularly when it's for free. And we see now the Jean Bar, at least temporarily, has no turrets. And if it does manage to fix that, then it'll have the one again. Just fantastic situational awareness there with the back turret. That is kind of a next level sort of play when you realize that you can use turrets that are maybe not facing exactly where you want them to shoot other ships other than the one that you're really focused on. Now, as I say that, what Spartan's about to do is get a little bit preoccupied with this Jean Bar. Now, I respect the fact he's trying to go for the ship that is best angled, or least best angled against him, and trying to use his high accuracy to delete this guy. Unfortunately, the Jean Bar's Citadel is just not really in the game. So, yeah, not great. That thing is also so far away that really you're throwing away a lot of damage that you could be causing by these misses, right? Because he's not going to get 100% accuracy shooting out that far. And looking back at that Bismarck, you know, it's at about half. And if we were able to whittle down that Bismarck, that would have been the one thing that I probably would have suggested doing, particularly since it is a not particularly well armored ship, at least in its current implementation. There you see just a big hit through the front bow. You know, 2 or 3 of those salvos, and this guy is gone. As it is, Spartan's kind of counting on his team not dying here, because you're up by 40 points, sure. Nobody's about to contest either one of these bases. Unlucky there, losing the front turret. But, you know, what you're hoping at this point is just that nobody dies in the last couple of seconds. And thankfully nobody does. Come away with the win. Here we kind of see the overall stats Spartan got in this particular match. Overall, a pretty well played game. Hard to argue with 180,000 damage, and he does walk away with 161,000 credits with no credit booster. So always a good time when you can play tier 7 and not lose money. In any case, thank you Spartan for sending this through. I hope this commentary has been somewhat useful. Thank you everybody for listening. Go ahead and visit Spartan's channel down in the link in my description. Also the Hive Hound. Once again, thank you everybody for listening though, I'll see you on the next one.